Ladies and gentlemen, there's a version of you that's been living rent-free for far too long. You know the one that hits snooze, the one that skips the gym, the one that says, I'll start tomorrow. That version whispers doubt in your ear. It flinches when things get hard. It negotiates with your goals, telling you that average is enough. Let me tell you something, that version of you needs to die. This isn't about hating who you were. This is about demanding more from who you are. You see, life doesn't hand success to the version of you that's scared to fail. It doesn't respect the version of you that waits for perfect timing. Life responds to the one that shows up anyway, bloody, knuckled, tired-eyed, but still swinging. You want growth? Kill comfort. You want confidence? Kill comparison? You want legacy? Kill laziness. Every day you wake up, you've got two choices: be who you've been, or become who you were born to be. That weak version of you, he's not your enemy, but he is your test, a mirror placed in front of you every single morning asking, are you going to choose power today or passivity? And here's the truth. Most people won't say you can't balance both versions. One will live, one will die. There's no coexistence. So stop feeding your lesser self with pity, procrastination, and fake positivity. Starve him, bury him. And when he tries to rise again, and he will, you remind him, I've already held your funeral, and I don't dig up what I've buried, because the world doesn't need another weak version of you. It needs the real you. Disciplined, dangerous, and unapologetically alive. Now go kill who you're not and become who you are. Self-awareness is not just the first step toward transformation. It's the very foundation of it. Before you can change, before you can rise, before you can conquer anything external, you must confront what's going on internally. You must face the mirror, not the physical one on the wall, but the emotional and psychological one that reflects who you really are when no one's watching. That mirror shows you the weaker version of yourself, the one that makes excuses, the one that settles for good enough, the one that avoids the discomfort of truth. But the thing is, you can't kill what you haven't yet identified. You can't defeat a ghost. That weaker version of you hides in habits, in reactions, in the way you respond to failure, pressure, and fear. So before you grab your sword and go to war with it, you need to see it clearly. Awareness is that seeing. It's understanding that you aren't just the product of your environment, your past, or your failures. You are the product of your choices. And many of those choices are made unconsciously on autopilot because you haven't taken the time to pause and reflect. The truth is, most people are afraid to look at themselves deeply because they're scared of what they'll find. But the strongest thing you can do is to look anyway. Look at your patterns. Look at the lies you tell yourself. Look at the way you shrink when you should stand tall, and the way you numb when you should confront. Self-awareness is brutal, but it's beautiful because it gives you the power to name the enemy within. When you name it, you strip it of its control. That laziness you keep justifying as rest, that fear you dress up as being realistic, that envy you disguise as standards, they all lose their power when you expose them. Self-awareness isn't just noticing your flaws, it's understanding the root of them. Why do you hesitate? Why do you sabotage? Why do you retreat when you should advance? Ask yourself questions that sting. Dig. Most people stop at surface, level observations, but the ones who evolve are the ones who interrogate themselves with relentless honesty. That's not weakness. That's strength, City. Because when you understand where your weak self hides, you know where to strike. But this isn't a one-time exercise. Self-awareness isn't a chapter you finish. It's a discipline you live. Every new level of life will reveal a new layer of your lesser self trying to follow you. As you rise, it adapts, it evolves. That's why awareness has to be constant. You've got to keep scanning for blind spots, keep asking yourself the hard questions, and keep updating the truth. There's no final version of self-awareness. There's only deeper understanding, better precision, more clarity. The more aware you become, the more power you gain, not over others, but over yourself. And that's the kind of power that can't be faked or taken. So don't run from who you've been. Don't ignore the parts of you that need work. Face them, name them, understand them. And then, piece by piece, decision by decision, start to dismantle them. Because you can't conquer a version of yourself you're still making excuses for. If you want to grow, if you want to evolve, if you want to lead, first, you have to become aware. That's where the real battle begins. That's how the weak version starts to die. Comfort zones are seductive. They're warm, familiar, and safe. But they are also the silent killers of potential, the quiet graveyards where dreams are buried. Growth never happens where you're comfortable, because comfort requires nothing from you. It doesn't challenge your mindset, your discipline, your willpower, or your grit. It just asks you to stay, to remain as you are. And while staying may feel good in the moment, it's costing you everything in the long run, because while you're in that comfort zone, life is moving. The world is evolving. Opportunities are being claimed by those who were willing to be uncomfortable, to be stretched, to be tested. If you want to grow, you've got to walk willingly into discomfort. Not just when it's convenient or when you're motivated, but especially when you're not. That's when it matters most. The weaker version of yourself feeds on comfort. It loves ease. It thrives on routine that asks nothing more than repetition. It will try to convince you that you've earned your rest, that you don't need to push harder, that you can stay right where you are and still get everything you want. But deep down, you know that's not true. Nothing great was ever built in the comfort zone. Comfort builds mediocrity, and mediocrity is the slowest form of death, because you're not living, you're just existing. Discomfort is the classroom where excellence is taught. It's the gym where resilience is trained. It's the forge where identity is formed. When you step into discomfort, you're not punishing yourself, you're preparing yourself. You're learning how to keep going when your body wants to quit, how to stay focused when your mind wants to wander, and how to stay disciplined when everything around you says, take it easy. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the call to rise. It's the alarm clock for your potential. You've got to get to a place where discomfort becomes your signal that you're doing something right, that you're on the edge of who you were, and inching closer to who you were meant to become. The weak version of you will fight this every step of the way. It will beg you to retreat. It will scream that you're not ready, that it's too risky, too hard, too uncertain. But listen closely, that voice is lying. It wants you to stay in the cage because it fears what happens when you step out of it. It knows it can't survive in the fire. And that's exactly why you need to walk through it. Start seeking out discomfort on purpose. Take the harder path. Show up early. Stay later. Say yes to things that scare you. Have the hard conversations. Lift heavier. Work longer. Risk more. Because every time you do, that weaker version of yourself loses strength and the stronger version begins to take over. Growth is not accidental. It's intentional. And it always lives on the other side of comfort. If you're feeling discomfort, don't run from it. Lean in. Use it. Let it shape you. Because the truth is, if you're comfortable, you're probably not growing. And if you're not growing, you're slowly dying. So break the cycle, shatter the shell, kill the comfort. That's where the next level lives. Discipline outlasts motivation. That's not just a statement, it's a law. Motivation is a burst, a spark, a moment of energy that shows up when conditions feel right. But discipline is what shows up when nothing feels right. It's what gets you up when the alarm feels like a punishment. It's what drives you to the gym when your body says no. It's what pushes you to study, to grind, to focus, especially when nobody's watching and no one's applauding. You see, motivation is like the wind. It changes direction. It comes and goes, but discipline is the engine. It stays running even when the road gets rough. The weaker version of yourself is addicted to motivation. It waits for the feeling to do the work. It waits for the perfect mood, the right vibe, the ideal setup. But greatness doesn't wait. Winners don't rely on moods. They rely on systems. They don't get ready. They stay ready. Discipline is about keeping promises to yourself. It's waking up early when your bed begs you to stay. It's hitting your goals when no one would blame you for skipping them. It's choosing growth over gratification, those results over excuses. The reason discipline wins over motivation is because motivation is emotional and emotion is unpredictable. It can be manipulated by your environment, your energy levels, your fears. But discipline is built on commitment. It's a decision that's already been made, so feelings don't matter. When you're disciplined, you don't ask, do I feel like it? You just do it. That's where true power lies. The weak version of yourself thrives in the absence of discipline. It loves when you're ruled by your feelings. It knows how to talk you into taking the day off. It knows how to make laziness sound like self-care and procrastination sound like patience. But when you've trained discipline, you don't even entertain that voice. You hear it, but you don't listen because you've chosen to be led by your principles, not your preferences. You know that on the other side of disciplined effort is confidence, progress, momentum, and pride. But on the other side of motivated laziness is regret and regret weighs more than effort ever will. Training discipline means creating routines and sticking to them even when they get boring. It means setting standards and living up to them every single day. It means showing up for your life like it's your job, because it is. Your future depends on your consistency. Your next level is built by what you do daily, not occasionally. Motivation may get you started, but only discipline finishes the race. The greats aren't consistent because they're always hyped. They're consistent because they're committed. They don't let their energy decide their execution. They let their execution shape their energy. The truth is, your greatest version is already inside you, but it's trapped under years of inconsistency, emotional decisions, and a lifestyle built on motivation alone. You want to kill that weaker version of yourself. Train discipline. Make it non-negotiable. Make it your identity. Don't just be a person who tries hard when they feel like it. Be the person who does the work, no matter what. Because in the end, when motivation fades, when the hype dies, and when no one is clapping for you, discipline will still be standing. And that's who wins every time. Past mistakes are not your prison. They're your blueprints. They are not proof that you're doomed to fail again. They are lessons carved in the toughest moments of your journey, waiting to be studied, not feared. The weak version of yourself wants you to believe that your past defines you, that every wrong turn you took, every failure you faced, every regret you carry is a chain around your ankle holding you down. But that's a lie. The truth is, your past is raw material. It's the foundation for wisdom, the groundwork for resilience. You don't grow by pretending your mistakes didn't happen. You grow by understanding them, analyzing them, and building on them. They are the data points of your personal evolution. The weak self avoids the past. It buries mistakes and tries to forget them. But those who rise don't run from their past. They revisit it with a scalpel, dissecting every failure to extract the truth. They ask, what did I do? What did I ignore? What did I believe that wasn't true? They turn their failures into feedback and their setbacks into strategies. That's how you evolve. You do not become great by erasing your story. You become great by rewriting the meaning of it. And that takes courage, because it's easier to wallow in shame than it is to face it and say, that was me, but it won't be me again. There's power in owning your past. It gives you authority over your future. When you deny your mistakes, you repeat them. But when you embrace them, you master them. You become immune to the shame because you've already faced it. You no longer live in fear of being found out, because you've already exposed yourself to the truth and came out stronger on the other side. That's how you kill the weak version of you, the one who hides behind blame, denial, and victimhood. You kill him by looking directly at your scars and understanding that they are not wounds anymore. They are maps. They point you to who you're becoming. Most people think their past disqualifies them from greatness, but in reality, it's their passport to it. Think about it. Every great story, every comeback, every legend you've ever admired didn't begin in perfection. It began in pain. It began in mistakes, and those mistakes were turned into momentum. But that only happens if you're willing to do the work of reflection, the work of responsibility, the work of taking that broken version of yourself and rebuilding him with precision, clarity, and unshakable purpose. So don't let your past be a weight. Let it be your wake-up call. Let it be your coach, your compass, your construction site. Let it remind you of what you've survived, and let it guide you into who you are still becoming. You are not your failures. You are not your wrong turns. You are the builder who learned how not to build, and now, with new eyes and new tools, you're ready to construct something unbreakable. Your past is your proof that you've already faced hard things. So stop letting it haunt you and start letting it teach you. Use every fall as fuel, because the only way your past wins is if you ignore it. And the only way you win is if you learn from it. The weak version of yourself thrives in excuses. It breathes them in like oxygen, feeds off them like fuel, and uses them as armor to avoid the discomfort of accountability. Excuses are the most seductive lies we tell ourselves. They make us feel safe while keeping us stuck. They sound reasonable, they feel justified, and they help us avoid pain in the short term. But long term, they kill progress. Excuses protect your comfort, not your potential. And the moment you start choosing accountability over excuses is the moment you start killing the weaker version of yourself and building someone unshakable in their place. Are clever. They don't always sound like, I can't. Sometimes they sound like, it's not the right time. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. Or, that's just the way I am. They're disguised as logic, but they're built on fear. The fear of failing, the fear of judgment, the fear of stepping into responsibility and realizing that the only person in your way is you. And the truth is, as long as you have a reason why you can't, you'll never find the reason why you must. You'll keep building walls where there should be windows. You'll keep living in limitation instead of leaning into your full capacity. The strong version of you doesn't make excuses. It makes decisions. It doesn't wait for permission. It takes ownership. Accountability means this: no one else is responsible for your life. Not your past, not your parents, not your boss, not the economy, not the timing, not the weather.
You?
Full stop. That's not harsh. That's liberating. Because if you're responsible, then you're also powerful. You have the authority to change, the ability to grow, and the freedom to take control. But you cannot have power and excuses at the same time. One cancels the other out. The weaker version of you will always look for something to blame. It avoids the mirror because it doesn't want to face the truth. But truth is the foundation of real transformation. When you stop pointing fingers and start asking yourself better questions. What could I have done better? Where did I slack? What responsibility did I avoid? That's when everything changes. Suddenly, you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the architect of your outcomes. Excuses delay everything you say you want. Every goal you've set, every standard you've imagined, every future you've dreamed about, they're all held hostage by the excuses you haven't killed yet. And the longer you keep them around, the harder it is to tell the difference between a real obstacle and a mental one you created. But when you decide to replace excuses with action, things shift. You stop negotiating with your goals, you start executing on them. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start creating the necessary momentum. Accountability isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. It's about knowing that you're not always going to feel like showing up, but showing up anyway, because the cost of not growing is far greater than the discomfort of discipline. You want to evolve? You want to kill the weak version of yourself? Start by cutting off his oxygen. Starve his excuses. Take full responsibility, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Because once you take ownership of your life, no excuse will ever be strong enough to stop you again. Your future self is not some distant version of you that magically appears one day with more success, more strength, more discipline, and more clarity. Your future self is being built right now, in this moment, by every choice you make, every thought you think, and every habit you repeat. The weak version of you wants to believe that the future is separate, that someday it'll just happen to you. That one day you'll wake up different, better, more prepared. But that's not how it works. Your future self is not waiting for you, it's being shaped by you. And the version you become depends entirely on how honest and intentional you are with who you are today. The weaker you procrastinates progress. It says, I'll start Monday. It says, when I feel ready, I'll commit. But your future self doesn't care about your excuses. It's being sculpted by your current discipline or lack of it. Every day you skip the work, every time you shrink back into comfort. You hand the wheel to that weaker version and let him steer you into regret. That's why today matters. Not next week, not when things calm down, not when motivation strikes, today. Because every later builds a future you'll want to escape from, and every no builds a future you'll be proud to live in. Think of the strongest version of yourself, not some fantasy, a real refined, focused, battle-tested you. That version isn't waiting in the clouds, it's waiting in your choices. The stronger you eats cleaner when the old you would have binged. The stronger you trains harder when the old you would have skipped. The stronger you speaks truth when the old you stayed silent. And here's the most important part. You're not going to find that version. You're going to create it, brick by brick, rep by rep, decision by decision. You kill the weak version of you by starving it of your attention, your energy, and your loyalty. You stop identifying with it. You stop protecting it with justifications like, that's just who I am, or I've always been like this. That's not your identity. That's your history. And you're not here to repeat your past. You're here to rise above it. The future you deserves more than your excuses. It deserves your evolution. If you want a future that looks different, you've got to live different now, because time won't fix anything you refuse to change. More months, more years, they only solidify whatever standard you set today. If you live half-hearted now, you'll meet a future self full of disappointment. But if you go all in, If you hold the line, face the pain, and demand more from yourself, your future self will thank you in ways your present self can't yet imagine. You'll look back not with regret, but with pride, because you'll know you didn't wait for change. You became the change. There's no elevator to your future self. Just stairs, just steps, just sacrifice. That version is earned. And the question you've got to ask yourself daily is simple but brutal. Am I building the man I want to become, or am I just maintaining the one I'm supposed to leave behind? Don't leave it to chance. Build him with purpose. You train like him, think him, walk like him every day until the line between who you were and who you are is permanently, irrevocably drawn. That's how you win. That's how you rise. That's how you bury the weak version once and for all.